Hello, welcome back to my mastering brain dump thoughts explosion of a vlog thing. Last video, right at the end, I had some problems with some noise. I might redo that video. I'm going to leave it up for now just because the current format is fairly lo-fi, and obviously there's some irony to that, bearing in mind we're talking about mastering. But I'm basically just sitting in my dining room. I've got my little Logitech webcam thing set up, and I'm just chatting into it. So if the previous video people have questions about it, or it gets shared about a little bit, I'll redo it and I'll just put a note on the video that it's been redone. There might be some things to expand upon on that topic anyway. What I want to talk about now is one of the things which I alluded to in the last video that was to do with picking a mastering engineer, and I'm going to expand on some of the don'ts from my perspective, and I'm going to try and explain to you why I don't think they're helpful and my experience of why they're not helpful. This is completely my opinion. This is my experience. Your experience might be different, and not everybody is going to agree on this stuff. The thing I want to talk about now is why I took off the majority of my equipment off my website. I mean, part of it was due to the fact that I went in the box and therefore it became less interesting. But there was a more important thing, and this is what I want to discuss now. There are many, many reasons why listing audio equipment in the pro audio world would be a reason to hire or not to hire somebody. If you're doing transfers, you need the machines, you need good machines, it needs to be able to fit everything, you need to know that it's working, and you need to be able to trust people with it. If you're hiring out a podcast studio, you need to know that they've got a variation of different mics, SM7s, etc. Different stuff that you try and they're standard and people understand how to use them. If you're booking a recording studio, you need to know what mics they have and what range of mics they have, as well as backline, amps, equipment, rooms, sizes, because this will stop you being able to even do what you need to do. Same goes for other areas of audio, like venues. You need to know the size of a venue. You need to know what equipment they've got as far as monitors, because it will stop you doing stuff. When it comes to mastering, there's no situation where the equipment they have or don't have is going to stop you doing mastering, because for the vast majority of situations, you're starting with the digital file and you're ending with the digital file, and you've got one person on their own working on it. There was a point where people were trying to move away from the attended session thing, moving into the online mastering thing. And yeah, there are a lot of chances around. But I genuinely believe that if you follow my 3 rules for picking a mastering engineer, you'll never fall into the arms of a chancer. So people started using equipment lists as a way to, and I'm including myself, and I'm not judging anybody who still does this. Just make that clear. Don't get upset, please, with me. This is my personal thing. I did it. I listed everything. I listed the details. I got to the point where I was listing stuff that was unbelievably pointless. It means nothing. Power conditioners. Why? Why? I guess the argument is that it shows that they care. But I don't think power conditioners, cabling, in any situation is relevant to getting an understanding of what your master will be like. It's so far down. Equipment is far down the list, but that sort of stuff is, really just why. That's what I think. Why would you? I mean, I did it for years. And I just, you do stuff. It's completely normal for humans to have this level of cognitive dissonance where they do stuff and they don't know why they're doing it. They think it's the right thing to do. There are situations where showing off bad or incorrect gear or just unsuitable gear for mastering, while selling mastering would be a red flag for me. Mixing desks, as in multi-channel mixing consoles, which you're not going to be using in mastering. So if that's something that they're trying to say, oh, I've got this amazing 64-channel mixing desk, and it's like, well, what's that got to do with mastering? That's basically not pertinent, so it's not correct. It doesn't tally with what you're trying to achieve. So that's a red flag. But then, there's a big mastering engineer who works on big pop stuff, who works on a laptop with headphones. So who are we to say that someone who works on a laptop with headphones can't do a master? They can. It's objectively true. This isn't to say that the studios with the amazing equipment and racks of really cool gear that I'm really interested in because I'm a mastering engineer are going to be better or worse than the person who got headphones. It shows that it's not a barrier to entry. One of the reasons why people list equipment on the websites, and this is one of the reasons why I still list some stuff, is that they want to promote good companies and they want to promote good equipment because they believe in it, and they want to, brands because they believe in brands. I do this on my website. I put, that Focal did my monitoring, RME, TC Electronic, I work with them. So that's because I want people to look to me as somebody to trust for potentially buying equipment. And people do ask me advice on equipment. It's not to sell how cool my studio is or how much money I've spent on it. And this leads me on to another point. The equipment that somebody has in a studio doesn't show how successful their business is. It shows how much money they've spent. It might show how much debt they're in. It might show that they've saved up lots of money by working hard on another job to buy equipment. It might show that they are so good at mastering that people pay them lots of money and they've been able to reinvest them in business. But you have no way of knowing that unless you look at their credits. And this again goes back to the previous video. The credits don't lie. If somebody has worked on loads of stuff, they've done it. If they've done that in a small project studio with plugins and the stuff sounds wicked, then they are definitely good at mastering, because that shows that the barriers to entry were high and they've successfully done it. If somebody's got incredible equipment and I could, give me £500,000 and I will spec you out a mastering room. The shopping list is in my head because I know about this stuff. There's nothing to say that someone hasn't, isn't independently wealthy or has got themselves into lots of debt getting this stuff. It doesn't mean they're going to be able to interpret your audio correctly. It doesn't mean they're going to understand standards, because only experience will allow you to do that. Which is why I always tell people, if you want to get into mastering, keep it really simple. Don't get expensive hardware without the experience of it. If you intern at a studio and part of your aesthetic is using an API 2500, then when you go off to be an independent mastering engineer, that's something that you desire, then that is, I completely understand that. I love API 2500s. Just going to put that out there. If anyone wants to sponsor me and give me a free one, then I will happily take one off your hands. But it's not a barrier to entry to some people, money. If somebody is showing off equipment all the time, but it's never posting their credits, again, that's a red flag for me. I try and do a bit of both. I mean, I share screenshots of plugins, but again, I'm doing it more to sort of like, I want people to invest in those processes because they'll get better. And if people get recommendations from me, it means that I'm able to contact the people who made the plugin and say, look, me and my mates are using your plugin, but we're missing X, Y, Z, which I do all the time with great results. I've been emailing somebody this week who made a really good clipper, and I was like, there's a couple of things missing that a couple of people have chatted to about clippers. How easy would it be for you to put that in a revision? And they were like, oh, thanks, thanks for the feedback. And part of that was just me putting out there in the open that, yep, I bought this thing, I'm invested in it, I'm using it, let's try and make it better, let's work together, and let's try and have some positivity in the industry. that's completely rational. I mean, a lot of the time people will, you know, I'm thinking of, again, I'm not going to name people, but I'm thinking of a particular engineer that I know who does a lot of like helping people design stuff, and he uses a hybrid setup, and he's doing wicked work. And I believe that when they post pictures and lists of the analog equipment they're using, for example, that this is a two-way thing. This isn't showing off. This is just what I talked about. It's being invested in the product, being invested in designers, and wanting to help promote them because it helps you increase your use of the tools. But unfortunately, we live in a world where, you know, Instagram, social media is a way of showing off, and wicked pictures of wicked stuff is, you know, it can allure you. I do it all the time. You know, I do it with other stuff. I do it with stuff I buy for my house. I do it with records. I've bought records thinking they were going to be wicked based on the Instagram pictures, and I've got them and they're low quality. So we all fall for it, and we're all susceptible to it. And this is why I don't think that looking at gear lists gives you an idea of the person who's going to be working on your project. It might be supplementary, and if somebody's got amazing credits, a rate that you can afford, and has really wicked gear, then send them a flipping email, because that is like everything ticked, but it's so low down. The time where it's important to summarize is when you can weed out people who you can tell are not really doing the work that you're going to hire them on for. I've had this experience in the past where I've worked with builders who they can do a bit of plumbing. Now, the plumbing work was shit. The building wasn't great either. But the point is that they said they can do it, but they couldn't prove it to me. And that was important. And credits always cancel this out. The hierarchy is credits, everything else. So that's my little rant. That's why I don't list specific bits of gear. I do list some stuff to do with transfer, because that's important, because certain types of tapes can't be played back. But I don't really list stuff to show off. Sometimes I list stuff because it can be good for engaging with other professionals, but that doesn't get me any work. That's not getting me any money. That's just getting me, you know, talking shop with people, which is useful, but it's not, I'm not using that to, it's not a honeypot. You know, I'm not trying to get you in with it. So yeah, I hope that's useful. This topic might be contentious. Some people really like this stuff. But this is my experience. I used to do this. I used to do it hard. And I realized it wasn't getting people that I wanted. In fact, I got quite a few time wasters of people posing as potential clients wanting to talk about the equipment. And my biggest client by a long way has never asked me what I've used, but has always been happy with the results. Always. And it's always been in the box. It's always been one or two plugins, and it's always been simple stuff. But the mastering has happened in here. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I'll do another rant about another thing which winds me up, which is coming soon. Apologies for the sound issues on the last couple of episodes. I'm hoping to sort of try and weed that out bit by bit, and bear with me. Peace.